Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to Totally Dacob, where we review Chucky, the TV show, and the movies and everything. But in this episode, we're going to be reviewing Chucky Season 2, Episode 6. He is risen indeed. How is the title exactly? I got it here. He is risen indeed. Chucky Season 2, Episode 6. We're basically only 2 episodes away from the end of the show. This video is going to be full-packed, jam-packed with spoilers. And so let's get to the spoilers right away. Andy is alive. Sure, we found out about that in episode 5. But we also find out that there's, we also find out who the Colonel is. And he talks a little more different than the other Chuckies. And he's bald. He's a bald Chucky. And we find out that he's really, I think, the worst Chucky I've ever seen before. Like, if you thought that Chucky was kind of just a cute horror movie character at this point, right? After a certain episodes or certain movies from the Chucky franchise, you might think, it turns into kind of this whimsical, fun, meta type of Chucky. But then it slaps you back into, like, the characters like the Colonel, and episodes like episode 6 slaps you back into a weird reality where it's still obviously fiction, but it's kind of like more like, oh wait, that's actually Chucky. Like, he's not cute. And this is where I have a problem. Listen, I know Chucky's supposed to be ruthless. He's supposed to be dangerous. He's supposed to be all that weird stuff. But, like, I want him to be cute. Whenever Jennifer Tilly gives an interview, we saw her do stuff on Twitter, and she said, like, if Chucky really loves you, he wants to kill you. That type of like, oh, he's so cute. Look, he's stabbing another person. Cute. Everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only. Just my opinion, not rooted in truths or facts. Everything's alleged. But anyway. So, like, the thing is, I liked the Chucky for all it's worth, as manipulative as he was in season 1. But that conversation that he has with Jake in Jake's bedroom, in Jake's new bedroom after his father passed away, and then he's like in his uncle's house, and Chucky's having a conversation about being gay, about, like, he says, I have a queer kid, and I'm not evil, Jake, and like, you start feeling empathy for him. Like, that's the Chucky that I want. Like, he's evil and mean, but he has this twisted way of doing things, but not that evil like what we see in episode 6. What we saw in episode 6, I don't know, people are kind of loving it. They're loving this gruesome, beyond psycho killer doll. But for me, it was too much. Listen, I enjoy a good kill in a horror movie like anybody else, but a bald head Chucky, the Colonel, keeping Andy alive for an entire year, tied up on some bed. We don't even know how he manages to poop or pee. And he's cutting off his skin bit by bit and roasting it on a fire and eating him. That's too much. For me. Like, no. There's ways, and by this I mean, it's too, I want to say, you're kind of, you don't have to picture it anymore. It's just like slaps you in the face, there's no mystery, there's no finding stuff out or imagining how bad he could be, because the the force of your imagination can really take you there. But this is more like, look, let me show you how he cuts his flesh off. Let's film that moment. Let's film the moment as he pokes it onto a stick. Let's film the moment as he roasts it on the fire. Let's film the moment as he nibbles on it. Did you have to do it all like that, step by step? Did you really? I thought it was unnecessary. But okay, granted, let's just say Andy has been attached to this bed for a whole year. How come he didn't lose more weight? How come he didn't get super sick? How come that open leg that's being eaten up alive, how come that didn't go into gangrene? Or how come he didn't get some bacterial infection through it? How come he's like still healthy looking? I don't want to say chubby, but he looks like he's been eating for a year. He didn't lose muscle tone. Well, he lost half a leg, but he still walks. When Devin and Lexi free him, sure, they're helping him, but he's had muscle tissue, flesh cut off of him while he's awake. And now he can just stand up and walk away with a little bit of help? That makes no sense. Like, absolutely no sense. But also, as the meat was being cut off of him alive, I think he had something in his mouth, but like, you scream when somebody does that. You don't just say, ouch. Yeah, Debbie says, yeah, all he did was grow his hair. It was, but I thought, okay, well, Andy's a goner at this point. Now, but Andy stands up and walks. And he can still talk, and he's still like, I'm like, somebody has been cutting your flesh off of you for a whole year. So you would have been dead. But the fact that you're not dead is already not logical at all. And then you're walking without pain, and then you go to the hospital. I mean, you go to the reform school, and the nun is what? Dabbing your wounds, which are open, bleeding. Like, you would bleed to death. Nobody can cut meat off of you without you bleeding to death. Unless they don't close the wound once they cut something off of you. But like, Chucky treated Andy as, one of those hams, like a serrano ham, just hangs, there's like attached by two sides, and the ham stays there, and you kind of keep cutting off bit by bit. Like, he treated him literally like that, but he was alive. But Andy was alive while he was treating him like that. It makes no sense. Like, you can't survive that. There's no way you can survive that. And if you do survive it, you're reduced to bones. Like, you're gonna be skinny AF. You're gonna be barely. I mean, you would be dead. But even if you were alive, you wouldn't be as cheruby as Andy was. So I thought that was like the morbid aspect of Chucky doing that, the bald head Chucky chopping off meat off of him, could not fully be realistic to me, because like, after I heard, oh, Andy's been tied up for a year like this, I'm like, well, no, that makes no sense. It totally kicked me out of, made me see the fake of it, which was also irritating to me, because as I said, he would be super skinny or dying or dead, but not cheruby. And just with long hair, but like healthy looking face and all. I mean, come on, you would be totally crazy. Well, you would be totally dead, actually. But okay, so there's that. Then there's another moment in episode 6, which I was just like, why? So, him killing Nadine. Why did he have to kill Nadine? Like, this, I mean, did I also have like hopes that there could be a good Chucky? That one Chucky could be good? Yes. I was also totally buying it. I was hopeful. I was thinking, oh my God, one Chucky is good. Oh, look at him. He's so cute, right? Nadine also loved him. But like, the moment that he offered Lexi the pills, I was like, oh, he's faking it. But that was enough. All I needed him to do was offer her the pills, and I would have been, and that's now we know, okay, he's still evil. He's just playing to be good. Like, okay, we get it. You don't have to kill Nadine for us to get it. We already got it. Um, Debbie says, yeah, that bothered me, but it is Chucky. Madame says, awful writing per usual. This episode was so unreal, not believable at all. Yeah, it felt clumsy in many ways. Except for the Tiffany, Nika, Glen part. That one worked well, but those always work well. It's almost like Don Mancini really loves Jennifer Tilly and really writes the best parts of the show for her. You can really see because things work there. And in that scene in particular, I don't know if you noticed, but basically the human form of Glen and Glenda. Glen has long hair. Glenda has short hair. And they always get it right. All the characters talking to the short hair character, they say Glenda. And the long-haired character is Glen. It's like a double play with with gender. But when Nika turns to Charles again, Nika calls Glenda Glen. And some people might think, wait, was that a mistake? Because, oh, bad writing, because how could they make such a mistake? No, they didn't make a mistake. It's because Chucky, in Seed of Chucky, didn't want Glenda to be Glenda. Because his kid in Seed of Chucky didn't know if they wanted to be male or female. They were kind of torn between the two. Tiffany was pushing for the kid to become a girl. Chucky was pushing for the kid to become a boy. So Chucky always addresses Glen or Glenda as Glen. So even though now Nika / Chucky being inside of the body of Nika is looking at Glenda, he's still going to call Glenda Glen. So that wasn't a mistake. And I thought that was very clever. Like, that was good attention to detail. Because it's easy to make a mistake there. It's very, very easy to make a mistake. But Don Mancini really paid attention to that detail. And I like that. And I like that he added that level of possessed Nika calling Glenda Glen. Because that's exactly what Chucky does. And I was also disappointed with the Colonel finally arriving to the... And also, what's up with the kids never being able to smash a door? It's like 4 of them, and they're just locked in a room by this tiny little key lock. And there's like 4 grown-ass kids. Like, you can bash that door open. And they're always like, oh, I can't come out. I can't come out. I'm like, come on. This is not Poltergeist. The doors are not bolted shut by some supernatural entity. That's also super annoying. But anyway, they're in the room waiting for the Colonel, and the Colonel finally arrives, and the Colonel is like, well, come to get you. And then we realize, oh, and then like before he kind of gets to, kill him, he gets killed by Andy. And I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of anticlimactic, because the Colonel has been talked about as this, like, he's dangerous. He's, like, we've been waiting to see him all this time. And then we find out, we actually saw him in episode 1. I love that you kind of saw the main villain in episode 1, but then like you get to really confront him only at the end of episode 5, and you get to see that, oh, wow, you know him already. Because there was this mystery about who's the Colonel. And then to then have the Colonel, poison buff Chucky, clever. But I thought to myself when he poisoned him, I was like, oh, they did this so that they don't have to. Maybe they were short on money, so they couldn't do big action scenes with 2 puppets again, because you need a big budget for that. So they made him poison him, which was fine because we never had a poison Chucky before. So that was like, you know what? Okay, you played that card. You were allowed to use it. Now what are you going to do now that you've done a poison Chucky scene? Like, because there was no battle between them. It was just like, Buff Chucky standing there and then the Colonel arriving and Buff Chucky's like, you're dead, and he's like, no, because the game's already over. And so there's no battle happening, right? He just killed Buff Chucky. But then we're still waiting for that climactic moment, this confrontational moment between Colonel Chucky and the kids at this point, because we've been building up to that the whole episode. And then just like that, so disappointing. He's just standing there like, I'm gonna get, and then he falls down and we see a knife or a scissor in his head, and it was Andy. Andy killed him from the back. And then the last things he says is something, but he's quoting Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now, which was the whole concept of Bald Chucky, or the Colonel. That's why Brad Dourif also changed his voice and tried to do the Marlon Brando voice, So there's that Marlon Brando Chucky voice. He's in this Apocalypse Now type of retro movie moment. And then his last sentence is also a quote from the movie. I didn't believe it for a second, says Madame. Always said Devon run away from Jake because he was in love with the idea of a good serial killer. I didn't believe it for a second. I always said Devon run away from Jake because he was in love with the idea of a good... I don't understand. So you think that Devon... So if Devon is in love with the idea of a good serial killer, why would he be leaving Jake? So for the crazy psychologist, okay, that was another moment of like, yeah, no, just so gratuitous, It's like, okay, so she's there, and now all of a sudden it's time to show them all that she's the evil one. Mind you, we still haven't met the main Chucky, right? Because they talk about the fact that there is a main Chucky, the main soul that starts splitting into other souls. And the main Chucky is allegedly inside of Nika. But we're not sure. Like, it could be somewhere else. Maybe it's not in Nika. But we think that the main Chucky is in Nika, right? And if the main Chucky is not in Nika, then we're in for a plot twist, or some sort of unexpected turn, some crazy turn. Also, Glen / Glenda the doll has to come to life at a certain point as well, for sure. The Tiffany doll with Jennifer Tilly's soul inside of it also has to have its redeeming moment of some kind. And then now, as for Andy, the fact that he's so tortured by Chucky and that Chucky's eating his flesh is kind of, minus the eating of the flesh, similar to how Andy tortured Chucky. If you remember in Cult of Chucky, we see Chucky's decapitated head, tied up, locked up, like completely hammered through by Andy in Andy's house in a special safe container, and he would torture him and electrocute him and stuff like that. So, and because obviously his revenge on Chucky started it, Andy otherwise would not have been that way. But what I want to say is, kind of, Andy really tortured Chucky in Cult of Chucky. So the Colonel was kind of getting back at him in a way. So in a way, I understand the torture, but it's just the type of torture that the writers chose to implement would have basically meant, with that type of torture, he would not have lived 1 year. No. How do you stand up to pee, to poop? Like, who feeds you? Did the bald Chucky feed him? The bald Chucky doesn't have it in him to feed anybody. I mean, how did Andy stay so cheruby? No. I don't know. Madame says, no, Dacob. Jake was in love with the idea of good Chucky. And they were fighting because of it. I said last week for Devin to run away from this and find him a stable guy. Oh, okay. I see. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I can see that Jake was in love with the idea of a good Chucky and he wanted to believe it. No, I get it. I was in love with the idea of a good Chucky too. I wanted to believe it too. But then, okay, fine. So then, we see that he gives Lexi the pills and we're like, okay, he's just faking it. He's not good. Then he pushes off the tower Nadine, who plummets to her death in a pose of like La Pietà, held by the Madonna. Um, and I'm like, okay, so now that you've pushed Nadine and you killed her, and all the other kids are up there with you, and they're just like standing there saying like, no, like you don't just stand there after he killed her. You push him down or you try to block him or you try to stop him somehow. You don't just like stay there without anything happening after. That was also super bizarre, but also the principal, right, when he saw what was going down with with the Chucky doll, when he and the nun realized that Chucky was alive, and then the psychiatrist started talking like a ventriloquist and saying, oh, look, I'm a ventriloquist. And then Chucky, what did he do? He shot her. He shot the nun. And then at that point, the principal started believing, like, oh my God, okay, so Chucky, okay, so he's alive. But also even before that scene, like, how can you not see the difference between buff Chucky and the normal Chucky? And then the bald headed Chucky? Like, you see that they're different. Like, you can't believe that this is the same doll. And if it's not the same doll, then aren't you a little bit suspicious? Like, what the hell is going on here? Like, 3, 4 dolls of the same making, slightly different. Like, he never addressed that issue. He always reacted to the Chucky doll in all these episodes as if it was always one. And but then the psychiatrist, after everything happens, she's still just like moving freely through all the corridors of the school. Yeah, there's just no logic. Which is a pity because it started off with a lot of logic. You know what I mean? It's not like, listen, I'm all for a cuckoo TV show, for something supernatural, for something that defies all logic. Like I'm fine. I'm down with that. But this is different. This is kind of trying to, it's not trying to be illogical. It's trying to make it look like, yeah, this is all logical, but it's not. And not in a good way. So I'm kind of annoyed. Devin, no more Kristen Stewart type guys. Find you a good man, says Madame. They were in shock too, the kids. Mm. Yeah, they were. But what do you guys think? Did you like it? Did you like this episode? I mean, I am just a little upset with the idea of kind of like, okay, there's a Chucky being killed every episode, well, more or less. Now it's not really every episode, but then there's always an introduction of like a greater evil. But now that they've introduced the concept of, okay, well, there's one main evil Chucky. I'm like, okay, so what are they building up towards? Like, what's the cliffhanger going to be for this season? Like, and how is he planning? Because I'm sure he's already planning on how he's going to structure season 3. I don't think it's been renewed yet for season 3, but I'm sure it's going to get a season 3. I mean, it's a very popular show. I hope it gets a season 3. But I'm like, so what is his plan for season 3? Like, where can it go from here? Like, you can't do season 3 in the reform school again. It's it's already gotten really boring, especially because all the interesting characters died. All the potential characters that could have done something, they died. Everybody just dies, and I'm just like, well, you didn't even give the time. Nadine was actually really cool. Like, why kill her off? Like, she could have been great in season 3. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, I'm still looking forward to. Well, Kyle is interesting. So Kyle lost an ear. Um, Chucky makes fun of Kyle because she got older. But so they're in the car, right? Towards the end of that particular journey of that storyline for episode 6 at least. Kyle is in the car with Nika, Glen, and well, the Chucky Nika, right? And they're kind of also driving somewhere. So they're going somewhere while Jennifer Tilly from episode 5 is also going somewhere. They're gonna meet at some point, right? And well, now that we know that Andy's alive and apparently after 1 year of having his foot being eaten on, can walk easy, breezy. So Andy's like totally chirpy, so he's probably going to join the fight as well, and they're kind of gathering all the characters together. But again, where is this taking us? What's this cliffhanger going to be? I'm really curious. There's 2 more episodes to go. Madame says they know the psycho lady wants them not alive, and they don't unlive her when she is alone with them. Yeah, that's a very strange moment as well. Yeah, very well pointed out, Madame. It's like they know what she wants to do, but they let her live. I'm like, yeah. I don't know. I'm a little bit disappointed with this episode, to be honest with you, but I still love Chucky. It's just maybe I just got to get used to it, watch it a couple of times and get into that flow of that pure evil. But like how much more evil can he get? Like eating the flesh off of Andy? Like actually, for how terrifying that concept is, I think they should have shot it better. I think they should have developed a better stage for that. They should have created better, mask, costume, makeup for Andy for this. They should have made it real dark. Instead, they made it a little bit easy. It's like he's eating his leg, but it's okay. He'll live. And he can walk. Don't you worry, guys. I'm like, yeah, no. If you're going to go there. But don't do it like halfway. You know what I mean? Madame says, I wished I had his stamina when I wake up. Oh yeah, Andy's stamina. Yeah, Andy's not alive. He is thriving, says Madame, right? Especially at the end of the episode, he was like, yes, let's do. Oh, maybe Chucky's inside of Andy, giving him supernatural powers. Either way, you guys, Chucky and I are wishing you a wonderful continuation of your Chucky season 2 journey. I will be reviewing episode 7 next week. Looking forward to that. And then the final, episode 8. So let's see how this goes, where this ends. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And until next time, never forget to never give up on love. Take care. See ya. Bye.